I'm on the record as a bit of a suspicious skeptic when it comes to apps and companies hoarding any kind of personal data, let alone genetic data. Your data that you're entering into these mental health apps might be leaked. If you've listened to the podcast previously, we've talked about how any big provider, any big institution with any kind of data that is valuable will be hacked at some point. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It's more about transparency of what data they have access to. Should you be having that information in the first place? And what are you doing with that information as a part of routine practice? That's more concerning. Terrifying nature of 23andMe is not because of the accuracy of the testing, but it is about the kind of data that these companies are collecting. It is to hoard your personal data. The access to personal genomic biological data was the real gold mine here. The personal genome service is meant to be a front end for a massive information gathering operation against an unwitting public. Again, this guy's a writer, so very, very dramatic in their setup of the stage. Does this sound paranoid? 23andMe admits hackers accessed 6.9 million users' DNA relatives data. There was a data breach. Data breaches are all the rage this year. Every big company has had a data hack. The data belonged to 6.9 million users. All of that data is accessible to hackers. 23andMe confirmed user information was up for sale on the dark web. It was investigating a hacker's claims that they leaked 4 million genetic profiles from people in Great Britain and the wealthiest people living in the US and Western Europe. And 23andMe are trying to notify users whose data has been leaked. One of the users who had its data hacked is US National Security Agency Cybersecurity Director Rob Joyce. The cybersecurity expert has an opinion that the hack was much worse than 23andMe are admitting, and there is much more salacious details to come. This was inevitable, right? The question is not if they'll be hacked, it's when they will be hacked. Why did I have all this genetic information to begin with? This is, of course, based upon the demand that people have for their own genetic curiosity. What diseases may I have in the future that my DNA will tell me? What is my ancestry made up of? Who am I related to? Am I related to royalty? Or am I related to thieves or pirates? All very interesting, and there was a genuine economic demand for the service. What they were charging users to do a DNA test was nowhere near enough to cover the cost of their ultimate ambitions. 23andMe were essentially using the funds generated by all of these user tests and their DNA samples to create these drug screening laboratories that were selling these targets to Big Pharma to develop drugs because it had access to way more DNA than any other company had. That was the real source of value for the company, not the $99 it was charging people to send in their DNA swab and get the result back. People now are waking up to the fact that this is a very, very sneaky practice, and they cannot guarantee the security of the data because no one can. And in Australia, we have a real problem around how protected patients are with respect to our genetic privacy, especially when it comes to health insurance. This article linked in the show notes talk about the price of life, genetic testing results, and the cost of insurance in Australia. Thanks to a loophole in discrimination laws, life insurers in Australia can adjust or refuse cover based on genetic test results. In Australia, the federal government announced a consultation into the use of genetic testing and how this connects to life insurance underwriting. And this is a very new consultation process. A lot of legal experts have been trying to bring this issue to the forefront, submitting to a parliamentary inquiry in 2017. Right now, as of the end of 2023, we are still not protected in Australia if you go and do a genetic test and your health insurer finds out about it. Your premiums could go up, or your life insurance policies could be denied altogether. And right now, genetic information can't be put back in the box. Once you have a test, you know you're at risk, and that risk exists forever. My personal argument is still those tests are very valuable to have, especially if you have a family history of the disease, for say cancer, if you've got a family history of cancer. But right now, you're very much in financial peril from the insurance perspective if you go and do this very sensible thing. So hopefully Australia and the regulators wake up, protect consumers with more rigorous regulations and legislation.